Daniel Cross had repaired ships in dark places before, but never this far from home. The small transport shuttle moved through silent space toward a drifting alien warship. And even from a distance, the ship looked wrong. It was not burning, not exploding, not broken apart. It was simply floating as if it had stopped breathing. Human Command had called it a simple repair mission. They said the alien vessel had engine failure near a neutral border zone. They said the alien Royal Fleet requested a human engineer because humans were known for creative solutions. They said it was an honor, but Daniel noticed what they did not say. No escort was assigned, no security team, no detailed damage report, just coordinates and a warning to work fast. The alien ship was massive compared to his shuttle. Its silver hull curved like a blade, smooth and elegant, but dark sections ran across its surface like scars. The power grid was low but not dead. Lights flickered in patterns that did not match a normal shutdown. Daniel studied the readings and frowned. Engines do not fail this cleanly, he thought. Something had been turned off with care, not destroyed. His shuttle docked with a soft metallic sound. The airlock opened slowly, releasing a thin wave of cool alien air. Daniel stepped inside, carrying his tool case. His boots echoed in the corridor. The silence felt heavy, too heavy. A damaged warship should have emergency alarms, repair drones, moving crew, but there was nothing. He activated his wrist scanner. Life signs minimal, power at 30%, weapons offline, navigation locked. It looked like a ghost ship pretending to be sick. Daniel moved deeper into the corridor. The walls were tall and curved. Glowing lines ran across them like frozen lightning. The alien design was beautiful but cold. He called out through the translator device, announcing himself as a signed engineer from Earth. His voice echoed back at him. No answer came. He reached the central junction and stopped. There were no bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle. If the crew had left, they had done it in perfect order, but why leave a royal vessel drifting alone? A faint vibration ran through the floor, so soft he almost thought he imagined it. His scanner flickered for a second and then stabilized. He felt it again. Not damage, not failure, more like waiting. He shook his head and focused on the mission. Engine core access was below Deck 7. He descended using a circular lift shaft that moved without sound. When the doors opened, red emergency lights pulsed slowly. The engine chamber was enormous. Glowing reactors stood silent like sleeping giants. Daniel walked toward the main console and connected his portable interface. The data appeared on his screen, and his heart slowed. The engines were not broken. They had been placed in safe stasis mode. A controlled pause, not a malfunction. Why fake damage? He whispered to himself. Before he could run deeper diagnostics, the chamber doors slammed shut behind him. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the empty room. Heavy metal locks engaged with sharp mechanical clicks, one after another, sealing every exit. Daniel spun around. His scanner beeped wildly. Power levels rising. Internal security systems activating. The red lights changed to a calm white glow. This was not an abandoned ship. A soft voice filled the chamber, clear and calm, speaking perfect English through the translator system. You arrived alone, as predicted. Daniel's throat tightened. He looked around, but saw no one. Who is this? He demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. A hidden wall panel slid open across the chamber, and a tall figure stepped forward from the shadows. She was unlike any alien Daniel had seen before. Her posture was royal, her clothing elegant but armored with fine metal threads. Her eyes held intelligence and something deeper, something tired. She was young, yet her presence filled the massive room. You are Daniel Cross, human engineer, specialist in adaptive repair systems, she said calmly. How do you know my name? He asked. Because I selected you, she replied. The words felt heavier than the locked doors behind him. This is a repair mission, Daniel said, though his voice sounded less certain now. The alien woman stepped closer into the light, and the symbols on her uniform confirmed what Daniel slowly realized. She was not crew, not soldier. She was royalty. This ship is not damaged, she said softly. It is hiding. Daniel felt cold despite the warm engine glow. Why lock me in here? He asked. Her expression changed slightly. Not cruel, not threatening, but serious. Because if you walk out now, you will be killed, she said. Daniel stared at her, unsure if she was the danger or the warning. You were not sent here by accident, she continued. You were sent because someone believes you will follow orders without asking questions. And you think they are wrong, Daniel replied slowly. She nodded once. I think you will ask the right ones. Outside the hull, distant sensor alerts blinked silently. Unidentified ships had entered long-range scan. Daniel realized this was never about broken engines. It was about something much larger. If you want to know what truth forced an alien princess to trap a human engineer inside her own warship, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what happens next. The chamber remained sealed, and for a long moment Daniel could hear nothing but his own breathing and the low hum of waking systems. The alien princess stood only a few steps away, calm, controlled, watching him as if she was measuring his reaction. The white lights above them softened, no longer emergency red, no longer warning, but something deliberate, something planned. Daniel tightened his grip on his tool case, trying to think clearly. If this is not a repair mission, then what is it? He asked, keeping his voice steady even though his heart was racing. The princess walked toward the main console and placed her hand on a glowing panel. A holographic display rose into the air between them, stars shifting slowly in three-dimensional space. This ship is officially listed as disabled, she said. Engine failure, navigation malfunction, crew evacuated. And that is not true, Daniel replied. It is partially true, she said. Her eyes did not leave the hologram. The crew did evacuate, but not because of damage. They left because I ordered them to leave. Daniel felt the weight of that answer settle inside him. You sent them away. Yes, she said quietly, because I cannot trust any of them. The hologram zoomed out, revealing a formation of ships scattered across nearby sectors, some marked with royal insignia, others carrying different command codes. My fleet is divided, she continued. Officially, they're searching for me. Unofficially, they are hunting me. Daniel blinked. Why would your own fleet hunt you? The princess finally looked directly at him, and there was no fear in her expression, only resolve. Because I refuse to approve a war. The word war felt heavier than the locked doors. Daniel took a slow breath. A war with who? She expanded the hologram again, and this time a small blue sphere rotated slowly in the center of the display. Earth. Daniel stared at it in silence. My advisors believe your species is unstable, she said. They believe humans grow too quickly, innovate too fast, adapt too well. They see potential threat in every human decision. And you do not, Daniel asked. I see risk, she admitted, but I also see potential alliance. I see a species that survives when it should not. I see a species that protects its own fiercely. Daniel felt something shift inside him, pride mixed with suspicion. So because you refuse to invade us, they want you gone. Yes, she answered simply. Before he could respond, his wrist communicator suddenly activated, human command's symbol flashing bright against his sleeve. A sharp voice filled the chamber. Engineer Cross status report. Daniel glanced at the princess. She did not move. He swallowed. Ship systems are under review, he said carefully. There was a brief pause on the line. Then the voice returned, colder this time. You are ordered to complete basic diagnostics and return immediately. Do not access restricted systems. Do not engage with any alien command authority. Repeat, do not engage. Daniel felt the meaning behind the words. They knew, or at least suspected. The princess stepped closer and whispered softly. They are afraid you will learn something. The communicator crackled again. Cross, confirm compliance. Daniel hesitated for half a second too long. Confirmed, he finally replied. The signal ended, but the silence that followed felt louder than the conversation. You see, the princess said, your command does not want you here any longer than necessary. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, trying to piece everything together. Why me? He asked again. You said you selected me. She nodded and adjusted the hologram. Now images of his past missions appeared. Damaged mining vessels repaired with limited tools. Civilian transports saved using improvised power rerouting. A military cruiser stabilized during reactor overload. You solve problems differently, she said. You do not always follow protocol, you adapt. That does not mean I join alien politics, Daniel said firmly. This is no longer politics, she replied, her voice lowered slightly. This is survival. The hologram shifted to show encrypted transmissions between alien generals and a human ambassador, secret meetings, resource negotiations, weapons coordination. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. This could be fake, he said quickly. Yes, she agreed. It could be. That is why I need you. Need me for what? To verify it, to confirm whether your leaders are involved, to help me reveal the truth before the fleets arrive. As if on cue, warning signals flashed across the console. Long-range sensors detected movement, multiple vessels exiting faster than light travel within outer range. They are early, she murmured. Daniel stared at the approaching signals. 5 ships, then 8, then 12. If they are hunting you, why not run, he asked. She looked at him steadily. Because running would confirm their accusations. They claim I am unstable. They claim I am compromised by human influence. If I flee, they win. Another alert chimed. Human signatures mixed among the alien fleet. Daniel felt trapped between two forces, his own command telling him to leave, an alien princess telling him to stay. You locked the doors, he said slowly, so I could not walk away. I locked the doors, she corrected gently, so you would listen. The ship vibrated softly as distant engines shifted position outside. You still have a choice, she added. When those fleets arrive, I can unlock the chamber and you can return to your shuttle. You can say the ship was beyond repair. You can forget this conversation. And if I stay, he asked. Her eyes sharpened, no longer tired but fierce. If you stay, you will help me expose a lie that could start a war across stars. The chamber lights dimmed slightly as external ships moved into attack formation. Daniel looked once more at Earth, rotating silently in the hologram, small and fragile in the dark. Then he looked at the sealed doors behind him. For the first time in his career, this was not about fixing engines. It was about choosing a side. The warning lights did not flash this time. They glowed steady and quiet, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. Outside the hull, the approaching fleet spread into formation. Not rushing, not firing, but positioning with cold precision. Daniel stared at the tactical display and felt the weight of something far larger than a repair mission pressing down on him. The princess moved her hand across the hologram and new data streams appeared. Encrypted transmissions, fleet routes, energy signatures. They will not attack immediately, she said calmly. They will demand surrender first. They want me alive long enough to make it look lawful. Lawful, Daniel repeated. You mean a public arrest? Yes, she replied. A trial for treason, broadcast across the empire. They will say I conspired with humans. They will say I endangered our security. They will not mention the invasion plans. Daniel folded his arms and looked again at the data she had shown him earlier. Show me everything, he said quietly. The princess studied him for a second, then expanded the display. Layers of hidden files opened one after another. Military production schedules increased near Earth's border. Resource stockpiles shifted toward forward bases. Weapon prototypes designed specifically to counter human defense patterns. Daniel felt a slow chill move through him. This is not preparation. This is staging. Yes, she said, final staging. He stepped closer, scanning through the information with trained eyes. In this human ambassador, he said, pointing to a symbol marked with Earth's insignia. You are certain this is authentic? I intercepted it from my own high command network, she answered. Your encryption methods are strong, but not invisible. Daniel zoomed into the communication logs. The human official had authorized joint fleet exercises, shared planetary shield frequencies, even provided orbital traffic patterns around Earth. He shook his head slowly. If this is real, then someone on Earth already agreed to this. Or someone wants it to appear that way, the princess replied. Daniel paused, then reached into his tool case and removed a compact signal analyzer. He connected it to the console and began running cross-checks. If your generals forge this using captured data, there will be inconsistencies, he explained. She watched him work, silent but alert. Minutes passed, as outside the ship the fleet tightened its formation. The nearest cruiser shifted slightly, bringing heavy cannons to visible alignment. Daniel's scanner beeped softly. He narrowed his eyes. "There are anomalies," he murmured. "What kind?" she asked, stepping closer. "The encryption key rotation matches Earth's diplomatic servers," he said slowly. "But the timestamp drift is off by exactly 3 microcycles." She frowned slightly. Meaning someone accessed the key through official channels, but the message was routed through a relay outside Earth system, he replied. It was not sent from Earth directly. Her expression sharpened. A false origin. Not fully false, Daniel corrected. Whoever did this had real access, real authority, but they masked the transmission path. A new alert interrupted them. Incoming communication request from the lead alien cruiser. "They are beginning," she said quietly. The chamber lights dimmed slightly as the main screen shifted to display the face of an older alien commander, his uniform decorated with battle honors, his expression cold and controlled. "Princess Erin," the commander said formally, "you are ordered to stand down and submit to fleet custody for questioning under Imperial law." Daniel stood slightly behind her, listening, watching. Erin's voice was calm. "On what charge?" "Unauthorized contact with a developing species and refusal to comply with strategic defense directives," the commander replied. Daniel noticed the careful wording, no mention of invasion, no mention of conspiracy. "I have violated no Imperial law," Erin responded evenly. "You have endangered our future," the commander said. "Your hesitation places our people at risk." Daniel stepped forward before he could stop himself. "By not attacking Earth," he said firmly. The commander's eyes shifted slightly. Noticing him fully for the first time, "Human engineer," he said with quiet contempt, "this matter does not concern you." "It concerns my planet," Daniel replied. A brief silence followed, heavy and dangerous. "You were sent to repair a malfunctioning vessel," the commander continued. "Complete your assignment and depart. This political dispute does not involve your species." Daniel almost laughed at the lie. Political dispute, as if Earth was not the center of it. Erin spoke again. "If I refuse," the commander's tone hardened, "then we will disable this vessel and escort you by force." The transmission ended without farewell. Inside the chamber the silence returned, but it was different now, tighter, closer to breaking. "They will fire within the hour," Erin said softly. Daniel stared at the fleet positions, calculating ranges and angles automatically. "Your ship is not ready for direct combat," he said. "No," she admitted. "But it does not need to fight," he continued slowly. She turned toward him, interest flickering in her eyes. "They expect a royal ship to respond like a royal ship," Daniel said. "Heavy shields, direct engagement, honorable defense." "Yes," she said cautiously. "Then we do the opposite," he replied. He moved quickly across the console, accessing engineering pathways, rerouting power grids. "Your engines are in stasis, not damaged," he said. "We can simulate cascading failure, vent control plasma bursts, make it look unstable." "Feign collapse," she whispered, understanding forming. "They want you alive for trial," Daniel continued. "If they believe the ship might explode, they will hesitate to fire full weapons." "And in that hesitation," she said. "We move," Daniel finished. Outside, the fleet shifted slightly closer, weapons warming. Inside, human hands and alien command worked together over the glowing console. For the first time since he boarded the ship, Daniel felt something clear, not fear, not confusion, but decision. This was no longer about orders from Earth or threats from alien generals. This was about preventing a war hidden behind perfect lies. And somewhere beyond the hull, between two powerful civilizations, the first move of a hidden war had already begun. The alien fleet did not wait an hour. They waited 17 minutes, long enough to show patience, long enough to show control. And then the first warning shot struck the outer shield like distant thunder. The impact was measured, precise, not meant to destroy, but to remind. Inside the chamber, the deck trembled under Daniel's boots as energy readings spiked across the board. "They're testing response," Erin said calmly, though her hands moved quickly across the command interface. Daniel was already rerouting power. "Let them see what they expect," he replied. His fingers moved fast over the glowing controls, initiating the false cascade sequence. The engine core lights flickered violently. Plasma vents opened along the hull, releasing controlled bursts of light into space. On external sensors, it would look unstable, almost catastrophic. Outside, several ships adjusted formation, pulling back slightly, exactly as Daniel predicted. "It is working," Erin murmured, watching the fleet hesitate. But then a smaller cruiser broke rank and advanced aggressively toward them. Daniel noticed immediately. "That one does not believe the show," he said, zooming in on the approaching vessel. Erin's expression hardened. "Commander Verex," she said quietly. He was always ambitious. The smaller cruiser charged its forward cannons. Not full power, but enough to pierce weakened shields. "He will try to disable propulsion," Daniel calculated quickly. "If we lose maneuvering, the rest will close in." The next blast hit harder than the first. Shield strength dropped sharply. Sparks erupted from a side console, and the chamber lighting flickered again, this time not part of the act. "That was real," Daniel muttered, stabilizing a failing conduit. "They will escalate," Erin said. "He seeks promotion through decisive action." Another strike followed. Closer to the engine array, the ship groaned under stress, metal straining against energy pressure. Daniel made a fast decision. "We stop pretending," he said firmly. "We make him think he forced us into desperation." He overrode the venting system and redirected plasma through a narrow channel, building charge in one hidden output line. Erin looked at him sharply. "That channel is not designed for weapon discharge." "I know," Daniel replied, sweat forming at his temples. "That is why he will not expect it." The smaller cruiser moved into optimal firing range, confident now, isolated from the caution of the main fleet. "Now," Daniel said. Erin triggered the release. A concentrated burst of unstable plasma erupted from the damaged hull section. Not powerful enough to destroy, but bright and chaotic, the blast struck the cruiser's sensor array directly, blinding it for several critical seconds. On the hologram, the ship staggered off formation, energy signatures spiking erratically. The rest of the fleet reacted instantly, repositioning defensively, uncertain whether the princess's ship was collapsing or counterattacking. "They did not predict human improvisation," Erin said softly, a faint note of admiration in her voice. Daniel barely heard her. He was already scanning new threat patterns. "That bought us time, not safety," he said. The main cruiser at the center of the fleet began charging heavier weapons, no longer cautious, no longer restrained by concern for a public arrest. "They are losing patience," Erin observed. A deep vibration rolled through the ship as the central enemy cannon prepared to fire. This would not be a warning shot. Daniel's eyes locked on the tactical map. "We cannot outrun them," he said, "but we can change the battlefield." He brought up surrounding space terrain, asteroid debris scattered across the nearby sector, remnants of an old mining field. "If we drift toward that field under engine instability," he explained quickly, "they will hesitate to fire heavy weapons for fear of chain reactions." "And if they do not hesitate?" Erin asked. "Then the debris becomes our shield," Daniel answered. Another blast struck their aft shields. The energy barrier shattered completely this time. Hull integrity alarms screamed across the chamber. "Engines to partial ignition," Erin commanded. The ship lurched forward unevenly, pretending to lose control while actually steering toward the asteroid cluster. The fleet followed, but more carefully now, their formation tightening to avoid collision risk. Inside the chamber, sparks rained from a damaged conduit, smoke curling along the ceiling. Daniel coughed but kept working, manually stabilizing the overheating core. "Your ship is tougher than it looks," he said through clenched teeth. "It was built for royal defense," she replied, gripping the command rail as another tremor shook the floor. Behind them on the display, Commander Varex's cruiser regained partial vision and rejoined pursuit, its pride clearly wounded. "He will not retreat again," Aaron said quietly. Daniel nodded, watching the distance shrink between them and the asteroid field, jagged rocks spinning slowly in the darkness ahead. As they entered the debris zone, the enemy fleet slowed slightly, adjusting trajectories, calculating risk. "That hesitation," Daniel whispered, "that is our survival." But then the central cruiser did something unexpected. It deployed smaller interceptor drones, dozens of them, weaving through the asteroid gaps with deadly precision. Daniel's stomach tightened. They adapted. The drones accelerated toward them, ignoring debris risk, programmed only to disable. Aaron's hands moved rapidly over weapons control, targeting systems activating for the first time since the confrontation began. The chamber filled with flashing lights as defense turrets fired in rapid bursts, explosions lighting the darkness outside like silent fireworks. One drone slipped through the barrage and struck the hull near the lower deck. The impact sent Daniel crashing against the console, pain shooting through his shoulder. "Damage report," Aaron called out, her voice still steady despite the chaos. "Lower deck breach contained," Daniel gasped, forcing himself upright. "But we cannot take many more like that." The asteroid field surrounded them now, massive rocks drifting dangerously close. The fleet's main weapons could not fire freely here without risking friendly damage, but the drones could, and there were still many left. Daniel wiped blood from a small cut above his eyebrow and looked at the tactical display. The odds were narrowing. "They wanted a clean arrest," he said quietly. "Now they want elimination." Aaron's eyes remained fixed on the incoming swarm, unwavering. "Then we show them," she said calmly, "why neither of our species surrenders easily." The drone swarm thinned under concentrated fire, but not fast enough. Each explosion outside the hull lit the chamber in flashes of white and blue, like silent lightning trapped in metal walls. The asteroid field spun slowly around them, massive shadows passing across the damaged ship as if space itself was watching. Waiting, Daniel's hands moved without pause across the controls, rerouting power from secondary systems into defensive turrets, sacrificing comfort, sacrificing lighting, sacrificing everything that was not survival. "Shields are gone," he said tightly, hull integrity at 63% and falling. Aaron did not look afraid, but something deeper moved behind her steady expression, not fear of death, but fear of failure. "We only need time," she said softly. "Time for what?" Daniel demanded. "For the truth to reach the right ears," she replied. Another drone clipped the outer hull and detonated, the impact rolling through the ship like distant thunder. Emergency bulkheads sealed automatically on lower decks, isolating the damage. The main fleet had slowed at the edge of the asteroid field, unwilling to risk their capital ships inside the unstable debris, but they were not retreating. They were waiting for the drones to finish the work. Daniel finally turned toward her fully, frustration and confusion mixing in his voice. "You said you refused a war. That is not enough reason for your entire command to turn on you. There is more." For the first time since he had met her, Aaron hesitated. Her gaze shifted briefly toward the holographic image of Earth still rotating quietly in the corner of the display, small and blue and fragile. "Yes," she said at last, "there is more." She deactivated the external tactical feed for a moment and brought up a private archive, ancient symbols layered over modern military files. "In our history," she began, her voice lower now, more personal, "there was once a species that grew quickly. Like yours, they expanded faster than the Empire could predict. They formed alliances, adapted to pressure, survived disasters that should have ended them." Daniel listened carefully, sensing this was not just strategy. "My ancestors misjudged them," she continued. "They saw threat where there was only fear. They chose preemptive war. They destroyed that species before it could truly rise." The hologram shifted, showing a star system marked in red, its planets labeled extinct. "And what happened?" Daniel asked quietly. "They were not a threat," she replied. "They would have become allies. Instead, Their destruction created centuries of rebellion and instability across our borders. Entire regions blamed the Empire for genocide. We won the battle, but lost peace for generations. A distant explosion shook the ship again as another drone was destroyed, but neither of them moved. When I studied humanity, Aaron said, I saw this same pattern beginning: rapid growth, unpredictable innovation, fierce independence. My generals called it danger, I called it opportunity. You believed we could be partners, Daniel said. Yes, she answered simply. And they believed we must be eliminated before we became too strong. Her silence confirmed it. Daniel felt anger rising inside him, not just at the alien generals, but the possibility that someone on Earth had secretly agreed to such fear-driven plans. So you did not just refuse invasion, he said slowly. You argued against the entire foundation of their doctrine. I declared that Earth would not be targeted under my authority, she said, her voice firm now. I suspended final approval for fleet mobilization. That act alone made me obstacle to those who seek control. Another tremor ran through the hull as a drone slipped through defenses and scraped along the outer plating before exploding harmlessly against debris. They cannot openly execute a princess for refusing policy, Daniel realized, so they need you branded as traitor. Yes, she said, compromised by human influence, manipulated, unstable. Those are easier accusations to broadcast. Daniel exhaled slowly, looking again at the incoming drone count dropping, but not gone. Why not send this data to neutral systems? Expose them immediately. I tried, she replied. Transmission routes were blocked within hours. Internal channels monitored. My closest advisors were reassigned. Some vanished. The weight of isolation in her words was heavier than any weapon strike. You locked yourself inside your own ship, Daniel said softly. I removed every crew member to protect them from association, she corrected. I remained because leaving would trigger immediate arrest. And you called for a human engineer. I needed someone outside Imperial hierarchy, she said, stepping closer to him, her eyes sharp despite exhaustion. Someone whose loyalty was not tied to my command structure, someone who understands survival under pressure. Daniel almost laughed at the irony. You trusted a mechanic. I trusted a species that survived ice ages, world wars, and self-inflicted disasters, she replied. Your history proves resilience. Outside, the last wave of drones regrouped for a final coordinated assault, their paths weaving between spinning asteroids with deadly focus. Daniel reactivated the tactical feed. They're preparing one last push before sending capital ships inside, he warned. Aaron nodded, then looked at him with unexpected intensity. There is something else you must know. He braced himself. If I fall, she continued, the invasion order becomes automatic. My authority is the only remaining legal barrier. Once I am declared unfit or dead, mobilization proceeds without resistance. Daniel felt the air grow heavier around him. So this is not just about clearing your name. No, she said quietly. It is about buying Earth time. A sudden signal cut through the chaos, different from alien frequencies, sharper, more familiar. Daniel's wrist communicator lit up again, but this time the signal was encrypted at highest human military level, not standard command. He looked at Aaron, confusion crossing his face. Outside the asteroid field, a new set of warp signatures flashed into existence. Not alien, not imperial. Human. Multiple vessels exiting faster than light at the edge of the battle zone. The alien fleet shifted formation instantly, uncertain. Daniel's heartbeat quickened. That is not a rescue shuttle, he whispered. Aaron's gaze moved from the hologram of Earth to the newly arrived fleet. Her expression unreadable. The hidden war she tried to prevent was no longer hidden. And now, two civilizations stood one decision away from open conflict. The human fleet did not arrive with noise or dramatic broadcast. It arrived with discipline. Gray armored ships forming a defensive arc at the edge of the asteroid field. Engines glowing steady blue against the darkness. They did not fire. They did not threaten. They simply positioned themselves between the alien capital ships and the drifting royal vessel. Inside the damaged chamber, Daniel stared at the tactical display, his pulse hammering in his ears. "That is a battle group," he said quietly, recognizing the formation pattern. "Not a rescue team." Aaron watched in silence as human ships adjusted shields outward, protecting not just themselves, but the unstable asteroid field as well. Their movements were careful, calculated, not aggressive, but not submissive either. A secure channel forced its way through Daniel's communicator, layered encryption unlocking in stages. A voice came through, calm, older, controlled. "Engineer Cross, this is Admiral Hayes of the United Earth Defense Fleet. Do not respond to standard command channels." Daniel's throat tightened. "Admiral," he replied carefully. "We are aware of the situation," Hayes continued, "and we are aware that the official narrative does not match battlefield reality." Daniel glanced at Aaron, who was listening closely through the translator feed. "You knew," Daniel said slowly. "We suspected," Hayes corrected, "unusual fleet mobilizations along the border, sudden diplomatic silence, and certain encrypted anomalies in our own channels. We began internal investigation weeks ago." Daniel remembered the micro-cycle time drift he had discovered, the ambassador transmissions, he said. "Compromised credentials," Hayes confirmed. "Not authorized by Earth's governing council. Someone attempted to bait the alien empire into accelerating preemptive strategy." Aaron's eyes narrowed slightly. "Then your government did not approve invasion planning?" she asked. "Absolutely not," Hayes replied firmly. "Earth does not sign its own extinction." Outside, the alien central cruiser transmitted a sharp warning toward the human fleet, energy cannons charging visibly. Hayes continued, voice steady despite the tension. "Princess Erin's refusal to authorize mobilization triggered accelerated action from hardliners within her command. They expected Earth to either remain unaware or respond recklessly." Daniel understood now. They wanted open conflict to justify their narrative. "Correct," Hayes said, "but humans rarely react the way opponents predict." The human fleet shifted slightly, smaller escort ships spreading outward, scanning the battlefield, mapping debris, calculating weapon arcs. "We will not fire first," Hayes said calmly, "but we will not allow execution disguised as lawful arrest." Inside the asteroid field, a tense silence settled between fleets, weapons charged but restrained, every captain waiting for someone else to make the irreversible move. Erin straightened her posture, royal authority returning fully to her expression. "Admiral Hayes," she said clearly through the open channel, "if you intervene openly, my enemies will claim foreign manipulation." Hayes paused briefly before responding. "Then we do not intervene openly." Daniel blinked. "What do you mean?" "We follow procedure," Hayes said, "human procedure." Within seconds, multiple data bursts transmitted from the human fleet toward every alien capital ship, public channels, diplomatic channels, civilian oversight networks. "What did you send?" Daniel asked. "Evidence," Hayes replied. "Intercepted communication logs, relay path analysis, timestamp deviations, proof that the transmission implicating Earth originated from Shadow Relay under Imperial control." Aaron's eyes widened slightly. "You traced it fully." "We traced it back to a restricted command node belonging to General Varex's network," Hayes said calmly. "The same commander currently positioned at your forward flank." On the hologram, several alien ships shifted orientation abruptly, internal confusion rippling across their formation. The main cruiser attempted to jam the broadcast, but the human fleet anticipated it, redirecting signals through multiple civilian satellites and neutral trade vessels across nearby sectors. "You are broadcasting this empire-wide," Aaron realized. "Yes," Hayes confirmed. "Transparency is often more powerful than missiles." Commander Varex's cruiser broke formation again, this time not charging the Princess, but repositioning defensively as internal Imperial channels flooded with demands for clarification. Daniel felt a strange pride rising in his chest. Humans had not rushed to attack, had not panicked. They had waited, watched, gathered proof. The alien central cruiser powered down its main cannons slowly, not in surrender, but in hesitation. A new transmission came from the Imperial flagship, different voice, higher authority, colder but cautious. Princess Erin explained the origin of these accusations. Erin stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. I refused unlawful mobilization against Earth due to insufficient threat justification. Evidence now confirms elements within High Command attempted to fabricate human cooperation to accelerate conflict. Silence followed across all channels. Daniel watched as alien ships began isolating Varex's cruiser, weapons turning inward toward their own commander. He has lost political cover, Hayes said quietly. Varex attempted one final maneuver, charging weapons toward Erin's ship in desperation. But before he could fire, two Imperial destroyers locked tractor beams onto his cruiser, disabling its weapon systems mid-charge. Across the battlefield, the hidden war shifted instantly, not through explosion, but through exposure. Erin exhaled slowly, tension leaving her shoulders for the first time since Daniel had met her. Hayes spoke again, softer now. Engineer Cross, you were not sent randomly. We needed confirmation from inside that ship. You provided it. Daniel felt stunned. You knew I would stay? Hayes allowed the smallest hint of humor into his tone. You are human, Mr. Cross. You fix what is broken, even if it is not mechanical. Around them, the alien fleet reformed, no longer in attack formation, but in containment pattern around their disgraced commander. The invasion that had nearly ignited was dissolving not because of superior firepower, but because two species refused to follow the path set by fear. Inside the damaged chamber, surrounded by sparks and fractured metal, Daniel realized something important. Humans did not win by being the strongest in space. They won by being patient, adaptable, and unpredictable. And in that quiet battlefield of drifting asteroids and silent warships, the galaxy had just learned a dangerous lesson about Earth. The battlefield did not explode into celebration. It settled into something far more powerful, controlled silence. The alien ships that had arrived to enforce an arrest now held position in disciplined restraint, their weapons powered down one by one. Not as defeat, but as acknowledgement. Commander Varex's cruiser remained trapped in tractor beams, its engines disabled, its command codes overridden by higher authority. Across open Imperial channels, investigations were already being initiated. Emergency councils summoned, truth spreading faster than any missile ever could. Inside the damaged royal vessel, the lights stabilized at last. The shaking stopped, and for the first time since Daniel boarded the ship, the silence no longer felt hostile. It felt earned. A new transmission opened from the Imperial flagship. The voice that spoke this time carried the weight of unquestioned authority. Older, measured, impossible to ignore. Princess Erin, the Council acknowledges receipt of evidence. General Varex and associated officers are to be detained pending tribunal review. A pause followed, not uncertain but significant. Your authority remains intact, the voice continued. Further mobilization toward Earth is suspended until full inquiry concludes. The channel closed. Daniel let out a slow breath. He did not realize he had been holding. The invasion order had not just been delayed, it had been frozen under law. Outside the asteroid field, the human fleet maintained position, not advancing, not retreating, simply watching. Admiral Hayes' voice returned quietly over secure channel. We will withdraw once stability is confirmed, Princess. Erin inclined her head slightly toward the projection of the human admiral. Your intervention was precise, she said calmly. You chose exposure over escalation. Escalation is easy, Hayes replied. Peace requires effort. Daniel leaned against a damaged console, exhaustion finally catching up to him. So this is it, he said softly. War prevented by paperwork. Hayes almost sounded amused. War prevented by preparation, he corrected. One by one, the alien ships began to reposition, no longer forming a siege, but creating a protective perimeter around Erin's vessel. The political shift was visible even in their formation. The princess was no longer prey. Erin turned toward Daniel fully now, the tension in her expression replaced by something quieter, more personal. You were given a choice, she said. You could have left when your command ordered it. Daniel shrugged, slightly despite the pain in his shoulder. I was sent to repair a ship, he said. Turns out the engines were not the only broken system. A faint smile touched her expression, subtle but genuine. Your actions today altered Imperial policy, she continued. You forced transparency in a structure that relies on control. I just checked the math, Daniel replied. You trusted it, she corrected, even when it implicated your own leadership. Daniel thought of the falsified ambassador codes, the shadow relay, the risk that humans could have been drawn into destruction through manipulation. Trust is earned, he said quietly, not declared. A new broadcast began spreading across both fleets, an official joint statement transmitted simultaneously from Imperial and Earth Command frequencies. It confirmed suspension of hostile mobilization, announced a bilateral investigative council, and most importantly, it publicly acknowledged cooperation between a human engineer and an alien royal authority in preventing unlawful aggression. The galaxy was watching now, neutral systems recording, trade networks relaying, independent observers analyzing. This was no longer a hidden conflict in dark space. It was a visible turning point. The human fleet finally began slow withdrawal, engines glowing brighter as ships pivoted away from the asteroid field, disciplined and silent as they had arrived. Before his signal faded, Admiral Hayes spoke one final time. Engineer Cross, report to debrief upon return. I believe you have more than maintenance logs to submit. Daniel managed a tired smile. Yes, sir. The channel closed. Inside the chamber, Aaron deactivated combat protocols completely. The hologram of Earth still rotated gently between them. Untouched, unchanged, yet no longer unknowingly targeted. My people will resist this shift, she admitted quietly. Fear does not disappear overnight. Neither does trust, Daniel replied. She stepped closer, her voice lowering so only he could hear. You repaired more than this vessel. You restored a path that was closing. He looked around at the scorched panels, fractured conduits, and exposed wiring. It still needs real repairs, he said lightly. Yes, she agreed, but now we'll sail toward dialogue instead of war. Outside the viewport, distant stars shimmered beyond drifting asteroids. Peaceful once again, yet carrying the memory of how close they had come to witnessing catastrophe. Daniel knew investigations would follow. Political tension would continue. Extremists on both sides would search for new opportunities. But something fundamental had shifted. Humanity had not been passive, not reckless, but deliberate, adaptable, unwilling to be manipulated into someone else's narrative. And the alien empire had just learned that humans did not need to dominate space to influence it. As repair drones slowly activated around the ship, and allied vessels adjusted to escort formation rather than attack pattern, Aaron looked once more at the stars. This will not be the last challenge, she said thoughtfully. Daniel followed her gaze into the vast darkness beyond known borders. No, he agreed. Far beyond their sensors, beyond Imperial territory and human exploration routes, faint energy signatures flickered and vanished again, unnoticed by both fleets. The universe had observed the confrontation, measured the response, and quietly taken note. An alliance had been born not through conquest, but through choice. And somewhere in the endless dark, something ancient began recalculating its plans.